All right, so the notes that you guys have for today are inherited and learned traits. And we've already been talking about this quite a bit, but I wanted you guys to have some notes in your notebook. So we've been talking about inherited traits with, let's see, you guys had a video what talked about inherited traits with bunnies. You guys did a picture yesterday about the inherited traits of a dog, the physical traits. So we're going to continue going with inherited traits. Tomorrow, you guys are going to really start learning about learned traits. So this page you guys have in your notes to print out, so you can glue it in your notebook. So we have inherited versus learned traits. What are traits? So traits are the characteristics of an organism. So think organism, plants, animals, anything that's living. Okay. So traits describe the physical characteristics of an organism, as well as how the organism behaves. Traits can be inherited or learned. So our inherited traits are innate. That word always trips me up when I have to actually say it out loud. Innate traits are traits that are passed from parent to offspring. The offspring inherits traits from its parents. Inherited traits are coded in DNA. DNA is passed from parent to offspring during reproduction. Offspring can inherit traits that determine what the organism looks like, so its physical appearance. And offspring look like their parents because they inherit physical characteristics from their parents. For example, your hair color, your eye color, number of limbs. That's odd. But I guess if your parent was born without an arm and it was because of their genes, then I guess yes, you could inherit that. But this might also be for like if you're a spider or if you're a human or if you're a dog, type things like that. So your number of limbs. That's just odd to say it that way, but it's right. And then your height, and then so on. So I'm going to put ETC period there. That means etc. That means that the list goes on, that those are only a few of the things. Offspring can inherit certain behaviors as well. Fixed behaviors that are not learned are called instincts. For example, many insects perform courtship dances before reproducing. So do birds. If you ever watch those bird videos on Discovery, there's lots of birds that do all kinds of crazy, like they poof up and they fan their feathers. That's why peacocks and turkeys, the brightly colored ones, like the turkey that you color for Thanksgiving, that's a male turkey because they do all kinds of different dances with their feathers. These dances are not learned, they're instincts because the insects just know how to perform them. Or sea turtles hatch on beaches. When baby sea turtles hatch, they instinctively know to swim towards the water. All right, so we're going to talk about inherited traits when it comes to you. So we're going to get to this tomorrow, so you don't need to do anything with it. So also in your notebook, you should, or in your pack of paper, you have this paper. So go ahead, pause this video, cut out this big rectangle right here, and then you're going to cut this black line all the way to the dotted line so that you can make flaps. So go ahead, pause the video, cut that out, and I guess you can go ahead and glue it too. You don't want it to be right at the top because you want to have some space. So you're gluing just this top part down, so then it's like two flaps. All right, and then press play once you're ready. All right, so on your slides, I can't show you on here because I can't switch from this to showing my camera, I don't think. So no, I can't. I was just making sure I couldn't. So you can go on to the next slides. So the slide after this has traits. So for example, it has like widow's peak, your bent pinky, your attached or detached earlobes. So it talks about all of the different inherited traits that you can have. And it's not all of them. So it's a pretty good list, but not all of them. And I also put in there whether it's dominant, having that trait as a dominant trait or a recessive trait. So I want you to go through that list and you're going to write down the traits that you have. So for example, the first one is widow's peak. And a widow's peak is like the front of your hairline, if you look in the mirror, where your forehead meets your hair. That's your hairline. That's what that's called. Well, some lines go straight, like across your forehead. Some hairlines in the very middle, like if you go straight up from your nose, there's a little dip down. That's called a widow's peak. So that's a trait that you could have. I do not have a widow's peak. So I would say no widow's peak because that is a trait that was passed down to me. And no widow's peak is recessive. So if you have a straight hair, so one for a straight hairline, which is recessive, and the other for a widow's peak, which is dominant, then I have recessive. So I'm going to put right here recessive. Because remember, that is the weaker gene. So recessive, that means that both of my parents had recessive genes for this one in order for me to get it. Because if one of them had a dominant and then a recessive, then I would end up having a widow's peak. So you're going to go through each of them, and there are 9 of them. And you're going to say which ones you have and if it's recessive or dominant. And then talk with your parents. Are there any other inherited traits that you have? Or you might know just with having your siblings, if you have siblings. You would know what are your inherited traits. Like mine is having dark hair. So that's one of mine. And I know having dark hair is a dominant trait. Because it was in that video when, last week, the Study Jams video. So you're going to go ahead and go through all the different inherited traits that you might have. And yours might go longer than this paper. That's okay. If you go past it, that's fine. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about learned traits, and then you guys will make a learned trait list. So you're going ahead and making your list right now.